Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to the Midweek Takeaway. Today we're joined by Paul Johnson, CEO of Power Metal Resources. Welcome, Paul. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good, thank you. How are you guys?
All good, man. All good. Good to see you.
All good.
First time you've been on, I guess.
Yeah, very much so, yeah. I've listened, of course. They're very entertained with the Conroy Gold.
He was quite indignant the other day, wasn't he? I don't think I've ever heard him quite as passionate about the story.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Oh, he should be. And the problem is, of course, when you're running these companies, that you are meant to behave in a certain way. And you're kind of, pushed away from being honest about and human in your responses to certain things. But when you've built, that size and scale of opportunity, and you've actually done things that people have been screaming at you to do for the years, then you expect a better performance on the market. Of course, he's done some of these events in difficult market conditions, so the general sentiment has subdued the price. But maybe his outburst, and quite right it was, has actually fired up the share price proper now, because it's had a rise from 22 and I think it's about 29 at the moment.
Good. So for those listeners who are not familiar with the Power Metal story, do you want to give us the lowdown?
Yeah, sure. 3 years ago, I was on my way to Greg's for a coffee in the morning, or 3 and a bit years ago. And I noticed that African Battery Metals have been suspended in December 18, pending financial clarification, which is code for they've run out of money. And so I got in touch with the relevant people and saw if there was anything that could be done. And there was. We refinanced, restructured the company in Feb 19, raised £1 million, and started a strategic review looking at the existing business, which was focused on West and Central Africa. And what did we want to push forward with from that portfolio? And we were able to acquire new interests. And in 19, we acquired some additional African-focused interests in Botswana and Tanzania. And then over the last 3 years, we've been building a portfolio. Our business in natural resources is very cyclical, and you get phases in the life of the market where nobody wants anything. It's difficult to raise finance. It's difficult to, get your project supported. And that is our hunting ground. And over the last 3 years, we've been building projects, doing reasonable fair deals, but not expensive deals on new opportunities. Now, of course, things turn around, and our expectation is that as the metal prices have risen so much, and as the world is so demanding of metals and there's so little supply, that the value of our project interest will rise dramatically. And we cover at the moment 3 continents, 6 countries, targeting 10 metals in 14/15 project packages around the world. So yeah, we've been building as fast as we can, and now we are not on the cusp anymore. We are in, I think, a very, very strong bull market environment.
And you think that there'll come a time when it feels to me, pretty much as you summed up, that the day of the small miner is being ignored a lot, even though we're seeing the commodity prices. Uranium's gone up 30% this year already. We've seen it at all-time highs. We've seen nickel. We've seen all these elements that are, as you say, becoming very important in the drive for greenification and EV metals and in the battery space. Do you think there will come a time when, for these companies that are, more in the exploration phase rather than the actual production, do you think value will come back into the market and see value in them?
Yeah, the market's clever. People in our space in natural resources can make absolute fortunes from very, very small pots, millions of pounds, tens of millions of pounds. And the reason why is because it's hard to stay in the game. So yes, I do fundamentally believe our market will come back. The reason is very simple. With metal prices so high, and as you've already said, and I said, demand is driving up and supply is limited, then the pipeline of new projects has to be there. And it isn't there in the majors and the large firms. It's the juniors, pretty much always, that go out and find the new deposits, and the mid-tiers and majors will often take them forward. And at some point, we will see this real negative sentiment environment that we've got at the moment, and real worry about the future, convert into some rather dramatic share price rises in the juniors. It is a waiting game. I know everyone kind of, and I'm the same, want excitement tomorrow, but in our space, we could have a dramatic amount of excitement tomorrow. We could have to wait for, a week, a month, a year. And it's that difficulty that of holding on to your positions whilst everyone is screaming at you that it's the worst thing you can do, that will determine whether or not you make a success of this space or whether you struggle.
Tell me this: if you said earlier to me when we were talking before we started recording that there is like 14 project areas that you have now within Power Metals. So if I had to get you to choose 3 of those that you think, yeah, these guys are going to do the business and are going to be worth significant amounts of money, what would they be based on the fact that your current market cap for all 14 projects is 18 million pounds, which I don't think you can buy a project for 1.25 million in today in reality. So how does that add up in terms of your market cap, but ultimately the 3 things or the 3 projects where you think that's where the momentum's going to come from?
Oh, yeah. I always struggle with this question because, there's various teams around the world working on different projects and you don't want to upset anybody. So if I can phrase this from the perspective of here's 3 examples from our portfolio, that might be better. We've got in the golden metal package, which is focused on Nevada, USA, the largest current tungsten resource in the United States at Pilot Mountain. Tungsten is a critical mineral on the 2022 United States Geological Survey critical minerals list, and there is no primary mined production of tungsten in the US. It obviously has industrial and defense applications and is probably going to be one of the most sought after metals. And we have an established mineral resource there that we're taking forward in that package. So that's nice. Across all the way to Australia, we've got First Development Resources, which is a package combined of 2 different things. One is gold copper projects in Western Australia. The principal project, Wallal, is based around magnetic bullseyes, which for those familiar with the Greatland Gold Javieron discovery know that that's exactly the same type of geophysical feature that led to the discovery of Javieron. That's been a bit of a success over the last few years. A £1 million market cap to £1 billion in 5 years isn't a bad outcome. And also in first development, we have uranium, rare earths, lithium, tin project CELTA in the Northern Territory. So that is a nice package following on from a very popular market theme with Greatland Gold and that discovery in 2018. And then, let's be fair. I mean, we have so many fantastic project interests in Botswana, but let's pick on Malopo. Malopo Farms, a very large district scale nickel copper PGMs project. We did lots of work with our partners there, Kalahari Key, and we actually started the drill program in late 20, finished in early 21. 3 deep drill holes, always risky for a junior, but on the second hole we hit nickel sulfides and we got grades up to 1.7% nickel. Now, nickel is, a phenomenal commodity. There's no boom like a nickel boom, and maybe apart from a uranium one, and we're seeing a nickel boom right now.
Boom.
Literally. And we found a tremendous result in a second of 3 drill holes. You could only dream of that kind of outcome on your first drill program. So obviously we want to do some further work and crack on with the drilling there. So that for me, I suppose 3 good examples across the board. Now I can bolt on another 6 examples like that of project positions that we've taken and we've built over the last few years and we're very excited about. It's bigger than the average company. For sure.
So if I was to offer you 18 million pounds for individually those projects, would you take it today?
Right, that's an interesting question because we're going into the world of mergers and acquisitions and takeovers and buyouts and joint ventures and all sorts in our space. The large firms are screaming out desperate for nickel projects, and copper, obviously, a great deal of interest in that. Uranium is building nicely. So here's the dynamic. If you offer me as a junior company in London, 18 million pounds, and presumably that would be cash or liquid tradable shares without lock-ins for a project, then maybe I would take it because that would then mean that that provides me with finance forever for my business. Now, does that mean that a project is worth only £18 million? I suspect not in some cases, with some of our project interests. If our Athabasca uranium interest, 7 projects, 420 square kilometers in Canada, in Saskatchewan, Canada. If that was our only project interest, right now, I suspect our market cap would be probably around the same level, because it would be then focused and people could really understand straight away what we're trying to achieve and get excited because it's uranium. And we've had some super high grade from exploration that we undertook there, when just after we staked the ground in the third quarter of last year. So it's difficult to be precise, but which project would you offer me £18 million for?
Me personally, I couldn't offer you £18, never mind 18 million, but I'm sure we could come to some sort of agreement if you're willing to sell any of. But
I'll sell anything if I get a reasonable price at the right time. I'm from Manchester, money's money.
Yeah, and when you first came on, I said you were from Liverpool, which was even better.
Proper good insult that. What a good way to start a relationship. I was like, yes, he's a fellow Manc, and I'm like, so it's two versus.
Aye, but you're married to a Scouser. That's the difference.
Yeah. So Paul, which one is the most advanced of those projects that you've got that you think could become revenue generative within, say, a year or 2 years or something like that?
Oh, good Lord. I mean, yeah, generally speaking, I would say we don't want to do anything that's revenue generative from a production perspective. Maybe, a spin-out vehicle might do that. But within our own kind of power metal team, we've got a set of skills, which is to go and find projects, to commercialize them, to explore them. But then when you move into the, development stage, full on and production, then you need a completely different skill set. So in terms of advanced, it would definitely be pilot mounting project within the Golden Metal Resources PLC package that we own 83% of. Because that's got, its mineral resource estimate, it's been worked on for years and it's, primed and kind of ready to go. I mean, we're looking at it from an exploration perspective that, that we think there's considerable upside potential at that project. There's a dramatic amount of tungsten, silver, copper and zinc in situ. If you do the calculations, it's enormous, and we think it's potentially a lot bigger. So that's our focus now. But of course, it is the type of project that could go down the development pathway. Otherwise, we are at various stages of exploration across the rest of the project package around the world.
But at this time last year, in March last year, your market cap was probably closer to 35-40 million, yeah?
Yeah.
What's happened in that time?
Well, we're in the cyclical market, of course. That's the one that everyone will pull out. You notice how company directors, when their share price goes down, they blame the market. When the share price goes up, they say it's because of all the steps that they've taken as managers of the business. So I will, if you let me on here again in a year's time and everything's gone up 10 times, I will have to say that, it's a positive market climate that's helped to drive our price up, because it will be. So you were affected by that. It's difficult, really. If I look at the last 12 months and the work that we've done, and I had to do that recently with the annual report to the end of September 21 and the post-balance sheet events from 1st of October to date, I've seen the amount of activity that we've been up to, the projects that we've acquired, 3 exploration programs, drill programs, completed in the year ended September 21, endless amounts of other exploration, loads of corporate transactions, selling our Hemlo Schreiber interests for £1 million into first class metals, starting IPO processes off and getting things rolling on commercialization and crystallization. There's so many things have happened. You do sit back sometimes at a little bit of a loss. Now, I've been in this business for 10 years running public companies, and I've learned that the market is not rational and is not efficient. And sometimes, usually with the better business models, you have to work harder to get recognition. But boy, when recognition comes, then you get that big whoosh moment and everyone starts to look. If I look at our social media, I look at our website and the amount of people watching what we do, there's a huge audience there and it's building. And what we need to do, as I say to the guys, we have 10 people in the team now, some phenomenal people. So don't lose heart at all. do your professional jobs, drive this business forward with the same level of enthusiasm, whether our share price is 1p or when it gets to 10p. Keep that professionalism, do the job. Let's go and find big discoveries and make big lumps of value along the way with crystallizations, and it'll all come good. All the team have got options, within the business, so that if our business performs and we get, to 31 pence a share, I pull that figure out of nowhere, then they'll all change their lives dramatically. A much lower figure, they'll change their lives. When it gets to 31 pence, they'll really change their lives. I might lose my mind at 31 pence, in fairness, because I'm exposed to about 140 million financial instruments in the business. But that's what we're striving for. And I'll do one more quick point on that. Interestingly, the team I've got are amazing. They're dedicated, focused. They don't think from a money perspective. They think from a let's do this job right. And it's an incredibly buoyant atmosphere that we've got in the office, notwithstanding market conditions at the moment.
If you had to, other than what you've just said, if you had to give somebody a reason who hasn't got maybe all the time in the world to investigate all your projects and doesn't want to take effectively a one-hit wonder on one A minor, why would they invest in Power Metal Resources?
Back in 2016, when I was on the board of Metal Tiger, we invested in Greatland Gold at 0.1 pence a share, 150,000 with 0.2 warrants. And that stock always had potential to do something different, to use its Australian base and to build on it and find major discoveries. And it took 2 or 3 events. It took Gervais coming in. We brought Gervais in to run the company, an absolute kind of phenomenal leader. And back in 2016, we put the money in at 0.1. One of my investing colleagues said to me, why on earth are you messing around with Greatland Gold again? I said, one day I'll make a lot of money from Greatland. Our business is based on 2 things. If you want to be successful, you've got to have a degree of stupidity or vision, as some people call it. You've got to be able to see what could be, think 2 or 3 steps ahead. And it's what I do in my business every day. And it was trying to work out where people are going to go, like a chessboard. You don't want to buy projects that are popular now. You want to buy the projects that are pretty much hated now and not thought highly of, in the expectation that down the road, people will desperately be clamoring in to get there. And then the second factor is you want a business. You don't want to buy into a director's salary scheme, which is what a huge number of companies in our marketplace are. And that's because they don't own shares, generally speaking. They pay themselves salaries. And if you pay salary and you don't have a big investment, then you're focused on, can you raise money? And you're not bothered at what price you raise money or where your share price is. You're bothered about, can you get cash, right? I'm the largest shareholder in this company. And I see the value to me, not in salary, but in cash, coming out from a capital gain at the end of the process. So I run this like a disciplined business, because that's the only way to find major discoveries. It's the only way to find major value crystallization events. So it's 2 things. I think we've got the vision, and it's not just me, it's the team. And I think we've got the business discipline to deliver. And you know what? In a year's time, 2 years' time, 5 years' time, we'll know the answer, won't we? And what I need to do is get my message out, make sure that people understand my objectives. I need to make sure the team delivers on the ground in our projects around the world. And I just need to be there. And the market will come to us. And that could be tomorrow. And it could be next week. It could be next year. But the market will always come to you if you're running things in the right way.
Good answer. I have no more.
Paul Johnson, CEO of Power Metal Resources. Thanks very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
This podcast was brought to you by Roast PR Limited. If you would like to appear on a future episode of The Sunday Roast, please email admin@thesundayroast.net.